Am I the a-hole for throwing away something my sister said wasn't hers? In order to get out of picking up after herself, my 17F sister, 15F, will claim that the mess isn't hers. Whether it's food, trash or an item she left out back, she'll say that's not mine, and 8 out of 10 times our parents will believe her and make me clean it up. The other day my sister left out her makeup palette. It was on the living room table for 3 days until our mom got mad and yelled for whoever it's for to pick it up. I don't wear makeup because it breaks me out and makes my face itch. Mom knows this, so why did she think it's mine? I have no idea. I say it's my sister's, but she immediately goes, no it's not. I don't even wear that brand or color. So mom then tells me to pick it up and says I should know better than to leave my stuff laying around for so long. I just look between the two of them and say okay. I pick up the palette and toss it in the trash. My sister then panics and says why would I do that? I say it's not yours, it's not mom's, and it's not mine, so I threw it away. No one wants to use mysterious makeup that just appeared in the house. My sister then digs in the trash and pulls it back out. She tells me I messed it up and that it was a gift from a close friend. I replied I thought it wasn't yours. That's when she makes a face like oh crap. Her excuse was she didn't recognize it until now. I said yeah right, she just told me to shut up and went to her room. Mom tells me that I was cruel. I reminded her that my sister said it wasn't hers, so I had every right to throw it away. She said since I knew it was hers I was in the wrong. She wants me to apologize and offer to buy her a new one. I don't want to do either of those things. If she truly cared about it she would have picked it up instead of saying it wasn't hers. I'm also upset that mom is completely ignoring the fact that my sister lied to get out of doing something, so I feel like apologizing would let her know it's okay to keep pinning stuff on me. Dad is the only one who acknowledged my sister's lying but also says what I did was wrong. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for yelling at my son's teacher and making her cry? Last Thursday I, 36M, got a call from my son's school telling me I needed to come and collect him because he had passed out during class. My son has passed out a good few times before, so we've made sure he knows what to do when he starts to feel faint to make sure he doesn't hurt himself. However, when I arrived at the school my son was holding an ice pack to his head. When I asked about it the nurse told me he had hit his head when he fell. I wondered why he hadn't lay down like we taught him to do. I brushed it off and decided to ask him about it later as he was still kind of out of it. The next day I asked him about it and what he told me made my blood boil. Apparently when my son had first started to feel like he was going to pass out he tried to tell his teacher. When he stood up to talk to her he was immediately yelled at to sit back down. The next time he tried to tell her she told him that he didn't look sick so he wasn't allowed to go to the nurse's office. Then, his class was doing an activity that required standing for practically the rest of the lesson. Before the activity started my son, yet again told this teacher that he felt like he was going to pass out and asked if he could sit the activity out. The teacher responded by yelling at him, claiming he was just being lazy and was making excuses. My son's friend was getting worried about him so he told the teacher, who then started yelling at his friend, accusing them both of trying to get out of lesson. Not even a minute later my son passed out, and according to his friend and a couple other classmates, she acted very shocked, as if she hadn't been ignoring him trying to tell her how he felt for the last 5 minutes. I'm extremely worried about the impact this will have on my son, as when the fainting first started he didn't tell any of his teachers as he was scared that they were going to yell at him. This resulted in quite a few injuries from falling. It has taken a while for him to start telling them when he's feeling faint, and I'm afraid this incident will cause him to stop asking and he will hurt himself. I had wanted to go down to the school that day but my son had stayed off and my wife wasn't home from work yet. The following Monday I arranged an appointment with the principal. After I explained what had happened, he called in my son's teacher, who then tried to deny the fact that he ever told her anything and he had just randomly collapsed. This is where I may be TA. By this point I was pissed. I began to scream at her, yelling about how my son could have gotten hurt. I was so pissed I hadn't even noticed that she'd started to cry. By that point I was asked to leave by the principal. My wife and some of my friends think I'm in the right, but my parents and the other half of my friends think I went too far. I don't know about this one. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole? My dog pooped on the sidewalk that happened to be in front of a cafe and NYC-owner was not happy. I just had an experience that I'm not sure how to feel about. I was walking my dog on a commercial street filled with small businesses and shops in Queens, New York. I had just come from the vet and my dog, a beagle mix, had been pretty nervous, so I thought a little walk would be nice. As we are walking, my dog suddenly stops and poops in the middle of the sidewalk. Now, this is not an ideal place for him to go, and usually he tries to find a grassy spot off to the side, but apparently he needed to go and this was where he was going. This spot he chose to go on the sidewalk happened to be in front of a cafe, about 4 feet in front of it. I didn't think much of it, or even notice what business I was in front of. I got out a poop bag to pick it up. I picked up the poop in the dog bag and tied a knot. There was a small amount of residue that I couldn't get off of the sidewalk, not sure how to avoid that. Just as we were about to continue walking, someone pops out of the door, who I assume is the owner of the cafe, and says in a rude tone, "This is a business, don't let your dog poop here," pointing to where the dog had pooped. "He should have pooped over there," points to the curb. I didn't know how to respond and I think I mustered something like, "This is a sidewalk and this is where he stopped to go." I didn't feel like I should apologize for anything in this situation so I did not. I was more annoyed than anything. I turned and left without further engaging with the person. I noted the shop and made a mental note to never visit it. Just for a better visual, this cafe has no outdoor seating. This is just a public sidewalk in front of their cafe that is on a pedestrian street in a big city. I am not sure what I could have done differently. I picked up the poop. The owner of the cafe didn't need to come out and say anything. They don't own the sidewalk in front of their cafe. This is NYC, we all have to share the sidewalk. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for removing my son's door? Ryan is 16 and we live in an old house. So the locks on the doors are janky. We are slowly replacing them, but due to the type of door we need to get custom stuff or it won't work correctly. It's that or replace all the doors and we don't have money for that, so custom locks it is. My son's door is usually locked either on accident or because he wants privacy. That's fine and we didn't have a problem until now. I check on the kids usually before I go to bed. Sometimes his door is locked so I just say goodnight outside the door. Last night he had the door locked but was playing music. It was late so I told him to turn it down. No response so I knock. Nothing. I call him and it goes to voicemail. I'm panicking at this point and think he hit his head or something. No answers to anything we do so we take the door off the frame. He's not on his room. He came back at 4 and was at a party, so he snuck out. As punishment his door is removed since of the lock and it will stay off until he gets a new door in about 2 weeks. That door will have the normal doorknob lock. My husband and I agree with this punishment, but he told his friends and one parent keeps blowing up my phone calling me an asshole. Not to mention the argument I got in with my son. It's for 2 weeks until his door gets here. I need an outside opinion. I can't just remove the lock, it's built into the door. It's not going anywhere. We have to have the locksmith change out the locks. Well, thanks to a comment, I checked to see if it was a parent. Apparently there are ways to make the incoming message look like it from a different phone. It was his friend and I contacted his parents. Apparently he snuck out also and his parents apologized to me for their son's actions and told me they will deal with it. Am I the a-hole for frightening my nephew and making him traumatized for life? I had a cookout at my place on the 4th. My daughter's, 13, switch goes missing. I contacted family members and my wife's sister, Kara, said my daughter gave it as a gift to her son Stevie, 6, for his upcoming birthday. I asked my daughter and she said it wasn't true. She let Stevie use it so they could all play Mario Kart together and it went missing after the cookout. My daughter is upset and I call Kara back, who insists that the Switch is now Stevie's and my daughter is too old to play anyways or will outgrow it soon and it was a gift to Stevie. She calls my daughter an Indian giver. After this I contacted my uncle who is a police officer and he watches Kara's house and a few of his friends go over and threaten to arrest Steve and Kara over stolen property. Kara reluctantly gives it back after an incident with the officer that she could have been arrested for. The warn Stevie next time steals both him and his mom will go to jail. They let my Sil go without incident. Sil says Stevie has been crying non-stop and having issues sleeping because he doesn't want to go to jail and blaming me and my family for traumatizing her son. My response might have been heartless because it was I guess he'll never steal again. Kara thinks he'll be traumatized for life for making a big deal over a stupid game. Am I the a-hole?